he was giving me probably like over $1,000 each time. And I was just like, what is going on? But in my mind, I was started to be programmed to think, okay, this is a transaction. So if he gives me money, that means I have to do something. So as promised, here is the Sugarbaby video. And now this is going to be a 3-part series because for 8 years I was in that lifestyle, and there's no way that I can share everything with you guys in one video, or it's gonna be like an hour and a half long. So I'm Letitia Renee Brown. Thank you for being here with me. Welcome to my channel. And let's dive right in because we have a lot of ground to cover. And so let's start in 2012. This is the beginning. I'm back home from college. I went to school at Armstrong Atlantic State University, and I had to stop going to school because of financially I couldn't afford it anymore. It broke my heart because I love education. And so I moved back in with my mom, and I'm working as a waitress and a bartender at a restaurant that I've been working at for a couple of years. So the cool thing was when I was away to school in Savannah, I transferred to that location out there. But when I came back home, I transferred back to my home restaurant location. And so at least I came home with a job, always had a job. So that was good. I'm just kind of like living my life, dating. Was currently in an open long distance relationship. Don't ask. And pretty toxic for the both of us. I was toxic to him. He was toxic to me. It was not a good look. But that relationship started to fizzle out around the time where I was about to turn 21, and I had to find some kind of way to move out of my mom's house. She wasn't kicking me out. She was like, you're welcome to stay. But for some reason, I wanted my own independence. And so I made a point to go and also look for another job. And so I eventually landed a desk job at an occupational medicine facility as a front office assistant. And I think it was paying like $13 an hour or something like that. But with that job and my waitress job, oh man, I can move out. I can get my first apartment on my own. And that's what I did. I ended up moving out. And that's when all the chaos really started. Because now I had this independence, and I just felt like the world was my oyster. And so I remember it was one day I was at work, and there was a young lady that I worked with, and we became cool. Like, we weren't like best friends or anything, but we became pretty cool. We would hang out from time to time. And I remember her pointing to this guy in the restaurant. She was like, you see that guy over there? That's my sugar daddy. And he gives me this, and he's about to buy me this, and we're about to go here. We just came back from here. And I was just intrigued, but also it just kind of went over my head, and I just kind of didn't really explore it or anything like that. I was just like, what? That's crazy. Oh my God, he's giving you this, giving you that. And she was a beautiful young lady. So I could believe it. This older guy, and he had to be like maybe mid to late 40s. And I was like, what? Oh my goodness. And so that, when I look back at it, was probably the moment that the seed began to be planted. Because then from there, a series of events started to happen. I started to date this other guy. And this was probably the first relationship that I had when someone was significantly older than me. And this guy was like 20 plus years older than me. He was married. And in my mind, for whatever reason, I saw nothing wrong with that. I saw he was interested in me. I was interested in him. I didn't want anything serious. Obviously, you're a married man, but we were just going to play around. And I didn't have a mindset yet of what can I get from this situation. I just wanted to have fun, because I was also operating out of this spirit of lust very heavily. I was very promiscuous when I was in college and when I came home. And it was just kind of like anything goes. And so, especially now that I'm like single officially, not in this open relationship anymore. Now I'm just wilding, if I'm being honest. I'm dating, different people. We're going out, we're hanging out, but then also this guy kind of piques my interest and we start to kind of flirt, and eventually he just came over one night and we hung out and spent some time together. And in my new apartment with my bed on the floor, no furniture at all. And as we began to continue to hang out from time to time, pretty frequently, he started to help me out with things. He was just like, do you need a TV? Well, I have this couch. And then one day he was like, let's go get you a bedroom set. I was like, what? And so we went to the store and he bought me a brand new bedroom set from IKEA. So I had to put it together, which I didn't mind because I'm actually quite handy. But that was just really intriguing to me and interesting. I've never had anyone do that. I've never had anybody take care of me in that way. And I remember talking to someone about it, especially the IKEA furniture, because it wasn't cheap. It was, at the time, it wasn't cheap to me. Maybe spent like $400 on the whole entire thing. But to me, that was significant. I'm like, I remember talking to someone and they were like, listen, if a man wants to do something for you, you better let him. And I was like, okay, all right. This was all new to me. I grew up with a single mom who instilled in me, hey, you get it done yourself. Independence, you don't have to rely on a man for anything, that kind of thing. But also, you can let him do some things for you. And so we're continuing our relationship, and it's wild. We're trying any and everything together. We're just like very explorative and open and free and all of these things. And I'm still intrigued by what's going on with the young lady at my job, because occasionally she'll come back to me. The same guy comes back to the restaurant and she's like, oh my God, girl, I finally got him to get me this thing. And now we're going here. Oh my goodness. And like, she's keeping me updated on this relationship. And I'm just like, okay, all right. And then I just had this experience with this guy that I'm seeing of him, buying me, furnishing my little apartment, essentially. He wasn't like rich or wealthy, but he taught me some things where I was just like, oh, wow, you do this and this. And so that was my first experience, technically, of having an older man take care of me and teach me something. And then it happened. I was curious one day and I went online, and because I think I remember talking to the young lady about how are you doing this? Like, how did this start or something like that? Or maybe I even asked her, like, how do I start? Now, if I think about it. And I think she told me something like, just go online, check out this website. And there was a couple websites out there. And so I tried, not the main one that a lot of people know about. It was like some offbeat ones. And that's the one that I tried. And I got on like one or two of them. And I just started to go down this rabbit hole of Sugarbaby websites, like Sugarbaby dating websites, reading about the person who started it. And because if I do anything, I dive in. That's the kind of person I am. People know me, I dive in. And so I'm looking at, oh my goodness. So they're spelling it out in such a way on these websites. It's like a whole new culture. And they're normalizing a transactional type relationship. I remember reading one like blog post or even something listed on the website from maybe the founder or something like that, how this person was saying, but so many words, this is just another form of dating. It's just more upfront and honest. This is what I'm looking for. This is what you're looking for. We can give that to each other. What's the harm? And when they framed it in that way, I'm like, huh. And so I didn't like pull the trigger yet. I didn't put a profile up in none of these things. I just kind of stayed, talking to this guy, But then also at the other job and in my other work environment, I'm working at this front desk job. Oh yeah, I had to mention this too. I ended up getting another job. So I had 3 jobs working across the street at the gas station. I really wanted to succeed. I wanted to have enough income to provide for myself and also maybe have a little bit extra so that I could actually do some things and not just work and spend it all on bills, work and spend it all on bills, because it was really tight for me. And so I remember there was things going on at my my other work location, where I would have these older guys occasionally come in and ask me out. And the same thing was happening at the restaurant too. Yes, I'm talking to this married guy, but there's still like these older guys in my face. So it was almost like when the young lady kind of opened my eyes and planted that seed and kind of showed me what was possible of like this kind of type of dating, this big age gap type of dating. As soon as that happened, I noticed older guys start to flock to me. Now I'm also 20, 21. I don't know, maybe if that was, they just like sensed that I was of age to ripe for the picking. I have no idea. But I never really looked for it. I was still dating guys my age. Not seriously, we were just kind of like messing around. Or I'll meet this guy from a dating website. I'm like, oh, he's cute. And we'll like go out to eat and, whatever. But more specifically, there was this guy that worked at the gas station who was smitten by me. He was like, can I take you out, to lunch sometime? And we would go out to lunch, and then he would occasionally like give me like $100 and like, here, go get your nails done. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Wow. And then there was another guy who came into the desk job, and he was just heavy on me. Everybody at the job knew that he had the biggest crush on me, because he would come in asking me, where's Tisha? She's back there. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy, he's like chasing me. I was just like, okay, never really entertained it. But then something started to click inside of me. I started to take these Sugarbaby websites and the research and everything seriously, to where, and I also had homegirl in my ear, because I'm calling her and I'm asking her like, yo, like, how do you do this? Like, I'm on this website and da-da-da. So she's giving me pointers. She's letting me know, like, you need to have multiple, don't just have one. You need to da-da-da-da-da, all these things. So she's putting me on game essentially. And I'm just like, okay, all right. And so something comes over me in this relationship I have with the married guy. I essentially give him an ultimatum, because now I'm putting up my profile. I'm starting to have conversations with these people. I didn't meet anybody yet from these websites, but I'm starting to like operate from more of a colder place of like, if you're going to spend time with me, it needs to be worth my while and I need to get something from it. And so I let that bleed into this relationship that I have with him. And we just kind of started off and it was fun. Now I told him, I was just like, well, you have to start paying my rent. And it's this amount every month. Da, 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 da. And he's just like, I can't do that. So I give him an ultimatum. And I think I really did that just to get him out of the way, because I was so excited to pursue this new lifestyle. And I wanted to look at it as almost like a business in a way, but just an experience. In my mind, I was thinking, okay, these men are always in my face in the first place. Why not just make a profit from it? Why don't I just do what she's doing? I mean, I think I look okay. I think I'm attractive. I think I can do what she's doing, but more. And so I go on a whole journey on this website, 2 different websites, and I come across some really strange stuff. I start to talk to people, we start to engage, and then I eventually kind of land someone. And there's this guy that he just wants me to come over, hang out with him, and then each time that I leave, he gives me money. And I just was like, oh, I finally got my first sugar daddy. Oh my goodness. But it was very transactional. I didn't know much about him except for the fact that I was in his house probably once a week. And we did that for maybe a couple of weeks. But then I'm also trying to like the girl was saying, you got to have multiple. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm like, I have him. Now I got to get this guy and then get somebody else. And if I can get this person to give me this person to give me this, and this person to give me this, everything will be paid for. And I can just save my check and I can just start to live life freely and all of these things. And I wasn't even focused on going back to school at that time, if I'm being honest. I just wanted to not struggle. And so now I'm invested. Because before this, I was kind of teetering with both. I was trying to still do regular dating and sugar baby dating. So I'm still entertaining these younger guys, but then I'm still trying to entertain this guy at my job that's trying to do this, and this guy that comes in at my job and trying to do this. And then I got this sugar daddy, and now I see him once a week. And I started to feel like guys my age were too mature and they were in the way. And so I just stopped dating guys my age completely at that time. And I just focused on this new endeavor of going on these dates. And so I'm always on the website, having these conversations with these men and trying to lock something in into where we'll meet, see if we like each other, hang out, and see where we can go from there. And then I just did that consistently all the way up until the point where I met this guy who was kind of into like the BDSM stuff. That was interesting. I'll spare you the details. But he was probably at that time the wealthiest guy I came across. He had this big house. I would come over and we wouldn't even see each other that regularly. But when we did see each other, he was giving me probably like over $1,000 each time. And I was just like, what is going on? But in my mind, I was started to be programmed to think, okay, this is a transaction. So if he gives me money, that means I have to do something. And then there was one guy that I was seeing, and he was just like, because we actually became friends at that time and hanging out. All these are older men. And I remember he gave me a couple $100. And then this is so interesting. I tried to initiate something with him, and he was just like, I don't want anything from you. I don't want you to ever think that you have to do that. I'm doing this out of the kindness of my heart, and I just want to make sure that you're good financially. And that left me confused because that's not what the other girl was saying. She was saying, spend time with these men and all of these things. They want something in exchange. And so I felt obligated. Anytime anyone gave me any kind of financial, help, I felt obligated. And I'm like, well, I guess they just probably want to sleep with me. So let's do that. It's so icky saying that now. And I think back at it, it's just very low self-esteem, highly insecure. And not to mention all the while, I'm feeling pressured to slim down even more because I was a bit heavier at that time. Because my weight was always fluctuating because of the eating disorder and the disordered eating habits and the mentality that I had and all of the things. So I gained some weight recently. So I was just like, I gotta slim down because now I'm dating these guys and, I gotta be on. Things got weird with the BDSM guy. So that fizzled out. He kind of like, I don't know. It was just weird. So I cut that one off. I was just like, no, I don't know about that. And then I got back on the websites. Now I'm on 3 different websites and I have a profile here, a profile here, a profile here. I'm researching on the best way to phrase things and how to have conversations. And there's books out on this topic. There's other women out here teaching how to do this thing efficiently. And so I'm like, okay, I'm not, I think me and the young lady, we aren't friends anymore. So I don't have anybody to put me on game anymore, and I think at this point I kind of surpassed what she was doing because I'm just like, okay, I'm about to move out of this apartment. And eventually I did. And I moved, to another side of town where I didn't grow up. And I was just like, yes, I made it. Like I'm in this nice apartment. It has an office and now I'm upping my game. I'm taking better pictures. I'm having better quality conversations and trying to learn how to elevate myself so that I can essentially attract more wealthier guys than the guys that I've kind of been attracting who maybe weren't wealthy, but they were willing to give. And so from there, I get back on the websites. And then also, not to mention, I started school. I started doing night classes because That's all I could really afford, to do my loans. I had to kick back into my student loans and all of these things. So I went back to school. That was a part of my goals. Like, I do want to finish my education. And so I'm doing night classes at Georgia State. And I eventually transfer locations to a closer location at Ruby Tuesdays, where it's just like up the street from the office that I work at. And I'm still occasionally, not every single day, but occasionally still working at the gas station, working at the desk job, and then working at Ruby Tuesdays occasionally as well. But now I have income coming in pretty regularly from these different men. Some is sporadic, some is consistent. And then I meet this guy on one of probably the most well-known websites. I meet this guy, and his pictures were a little too good to be true. He didn't look his age. He was very handsome, in shape, all of these things. And we meet and we just hit it off. And I felt like I was just like hanging out with my homeboy. I was like, man, you're dope. Like, he was really cool. He didn't feel like an old dude. He was probably in his mid to late 40s. So we just kind of just was kicking it from there. And I later found out that he was married, because I kind of didn't want to keep going down that route of entertaining married men. I knew that was wrong. My moral compass was like kind of non-existent in a way, honestly, when it came to this part of my life, because I, again, was very far from God and didn't really have much conviction of anything. So I was just like, anything goes. And so I'm dating this guy, and he had a condo in the city, but he also had this huge place, on the outskirts of the city. And I found out that he was very wealthy, and I had no idea. I thought it was just going to kind of be the same caliber of men that I've been dealing with. And we kind of established an arrangement of, hey, let's just actually date. So we started dating, and I actually enjoyed dating him. I didn't really at first look at it as just like a transactional thing. When he was, in the city, we would hang out and we would go here and do this and that. I always had this fear of like, well, this guy could cut me off at any time. So I always have to have, multiple men to make sure that I have some interest still going. So I can't just put all my eggs in one basket, so to speak. And so I'm dating this guy now. Later found out he was married. He didn't divulge that immediately. And at this point, I already like him. I'm already invested, and he's, giving me financial assistance. And so I stick it out, and I'm just like, okay, he's married. I didn't want to date any more married men, but here we are. But then also I'm like, well, I'm not going to stay faithful to a married man. So I'm still going to continue to have my roster. I've always had it. I cannot remember a time in space in this lifestyle where I did not have multiple people that I was talking to or trying to initiate some kind of arrangement. I would get off of the websites because it's kind of tricky, because, if you get on there and you see the person you're dating, they're just like, what? So that was that. But I meet him, and we're hanging out. We're going to concerts, we're going to like hottest restaurants, and, we're hanging out. He's teaching me new skills and all this stuff. And it's just really dope. It's really fun. And I'm just like suppressing so many things, and suppressing the fact that I'm literally entertaining a married man and multiple men, and on a daily basis. Every time I leave the house, there's someone in my face. If I go to the gym, this guy is trying to talk to me. If I go here, this person wants to initiate something. If I go shop at Lenox Mall, this person's trying to pay for my clothes. If I go to the grocery store, this guy's trying to pay for my groceries. And it's just this weird thing of me literally attracting all of these experiences. And so I'm going to stop right here because I believe that the next video, I want to dive deeper into how I just kept rising into the ranks in this sugar baby life. But the detriment that it was having on me became even more severe. And so we'll talk about that next time. And I appreciate you for hanging out with me. I know this was a lot, but like I said, I'm here to share. I'm here to share. And I want you to stick around because I want you to see how God's hand was always on me, even though I was doing my mess, and how ultimately he came and saved me. And so until next time, peace.